The Real Kyper at Noon show live streaming. I'm Nick Kypreos, Joe and Joe in the background, and we've got Doug Maclean on tap. You know, every time we do this show, we want to come out with at least a thought-provoking thumbnail. And we've had some good ones lately, and you guys have responded well to them. And I think this one that will lead off this show on this Wednesday, March 3rd, will do the same. And we've got Jack Eichel on it. And it's a hot button topic around the National Hockey League and what to do with Jack Eichel. Where do the Buffalo Sabres go from here? Last night, 3-2 loss to the New York Rangers. We know the struggles the Rangers have had, especially when it's come to putting out a full lineup. Still no Panarin. But they managed to beat the Buffalo Sabres 3-2. And unfortunately for fans, the same inconsistencies are, I guess they are consistent. They can't score. Their top players can't score. And it's been well noted on this show from Skinner to Okposo, but nobody really cares about those guys. Everybody just focuses in their star centerman in Jack Eichel. So we're going to get into that with Doug Maclean momentarily. But today's show also sets up our Friday. We want a big Q&A Friday, which means all of you out there, get your questions ready. But there is a hook here. Jordan, we need to hit a certain number of likes for Mac, and we're going to hashtag it. Are we hashtagging it?
Like Mac.
Like Mac.
M-A-K. M-A-C.
I love it.
We'll be checking there. We'll be checking the chat here, our comments and stuff.
But
and we'll
there's not
them all.
Guys.
So how many hold on. How many likes do we need for our fans out there to start asking some great Zverev stories?
I think as Zverev, we got to go for 500. I think honestly, I think that's like the threshold here to be completely forthcoming.
Mac, you okay with 500 likes for you, or?
There's not 500 people in North America that like me to begin with.
Probably true.
You're looking good. You're feeling good. You're sounding good. Could that be because since you've been on the IR, you experienced back-to-back golf rounds for the first time?
Yeah, I played 18 yesterday at Delray Dunes, and I thought I struck my ball striking was very good. I thought yesterday, and I played pretty good. Yeah.
Now the one thing that Mac has been great with is updating me on all his scores, even when I don't want them. I couldn't give a flying fuck about his golf numbers because the only one that pisses me off the most is 82 or 84 degrees. Not his score, but the temperature that he's playing in. That pisses me off all in itself. But 2 days ago, Mac, you had the front nine of your life.
Yeah, yesterday, Nick.
Oh, yesterday. Yeah, that's right. Yesterday.
And you know what? I went with a buddy to Delray Dunes Golf Club, and it's a private place as a guest. And you know what? I my ball striking, as I said, was good. I ended with the 38 on the front nine, which I was, reasonably pleased
38
with.
Is off the charts for you.
That's
you
a
must.
Hey, no, that is a miracle. That's a miracle.
Hey, the best club in your bag must have been the foot wedge on that 38.
No. And you know what? And they even sent a note to Jill. She's away on vacation, that it was a legit 38 too. Back nine, I stumbled a little. I came in with a 45 on the back nine and had to get a birdie on 18 to get that 45. So anyway,
great.
My ball striking, I heard them say that on TV recently, that something about ball striking. So I'm using that quite a bit here. My ball striking is better.
Just for the record, between the golf, the shopping for a Porsche, your wife on vacation, one question. Are you living in the same world we are right now?
Well, I do have my vaccination. I both shots, so I'm a little more relaxed. Of course you do. But we're being extremely careful. We have our own carts when we play. I mean, we're really being careful,
This is Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous with Doug Maclean.
Right. This is the lifestyle of a guy that worked his ass off for 42 years.
I'll give you that.
Let him know, Doug.
I will give you that. It's a small
Honda,
one.
This
it's
is
painful.
I wore this hat because it's the Honda Classic. And when you get a 38, you can compete in the Honda Classic. You know, I've seen guys do worse than that at the Honda Classic, but that's okay.
And now that you're in the States and you're all going to get your vaccination shot before the end of the show, is that how good it's going down there right now? Because can you send some extra up here in Canada, please?
I heard them say on the news the other day that everybody in the U.S. should be vaccinated, every adult, by the end of May, and anything that's left over, they're going to send to Mexico and to Canada, which I thought was big of them. Like, seriously, get it up to Canada right today.
Wow.
We've got enough. We can give Canada some and help Justin out.
If your nose falls off by the end of the show, I may not want one.
Exactly.
Okay, Mac, let's get this thing going. We had 8 games on tap, including Buffalo and the Rangers. Before we get into Jack Eichel, I'm watching. I think 9 out of the 16 last night had records below 500. Like, there's a lot of. We're gonna get into Buffalo. We're gonna get into Jack Eichel, but holy moly, we got a lot of teams struggling out here besides Buffalo.
We sure do, and I mean, I don't get it. I guess, you know what, in fairness to the players, look, during the regular season, in a normal season, it must be so hard on the head. I mean, they're not allowed really out in public. They have to be at the rink and home. I mean, honest, after going through the bubble last year, I don't know how the players and coaches are doing it. I really don't. And I think it affects their games. I'm sure it's affecting their games.
Maybe they should get
Jack Eichels.
Talk to the players and get them on the Doug Maclean Florida program. Then they'd be totally engaged.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Panthers. Obviously, they're following a little bit. They can't lose a game. I mean, they're outstanding. But Dallas should get better. I see the governor of Texas, like, what is he thinking about? No more face masks. Everything's open. And so that should help the Stars because they're god-awful right now.
Where do we start on a Jack Eichel conversation, Mac? This has got to be. They've missed the playoffs for a lot of years. The one thing that Jack Eichel and you have in common is you've both played the same amount of playoff games, Mac.
Listen, he's been 6 years since he was a second overall pick, and they haven't made the playoffs once. Like, that is, and we always talk about McDavid being frustrated in Edmonton. But you know what? I'll never forget talking to Tim Murray when he lost the lottery. Going into the lottery, they were the worst team in the league, and it was McDavid or Eichel. And he finishes second. And he tried to sound excited, but he was not excited. They wanted Eichel. They wanted McDavid so bad. Eichel's still a great player. He's been a great player, but come on. This is so hard on the head.
It did set up well for Buffalo, an American player that's come through the program, second generation off of your Kachuks, your Roenics, your Brian Leaches. It was really set up well for the next 10, 15 years.
It was.
We need a 3-hour program just to say where it started to go wrong for the Buffalo Sabres. But, Mac, for me, it's not if Buffalo trades Jack Eichel, it's now when.
Exactly. And I mean, where has it gone wrong? Who's been there? Who's played goal for them the last 6 years, for instance? Leonard went there in a big trade, bombed. I mean, who's been their number one goalie in the last 6 years in Buffalo? Honest to God, I can't name them. I can't name who it would be. So Eichel, I mean, he is awful this year, in my opinion. Come on. His shooting percentage is 3.8. Yeah. Come on. I mean, it's better than Skinner's, which is 0. But, and Taylor Hall, I mean, what is going wrong with this group? Taylor Hall goes in there and he's supposed to be with Eichel. Skinner gets 40 goals and now he can't I mean, it's terrible. And the fans
Okposo gets off scot-free because everybody's focused on Jack and Jeff Skinner.
I know. But what do they do to fix this? What does this organization do? They got ripped the other day. Kruger's being ripped for not telling the truth about Eichel's injury. I mean, they're after him. They're after the owners. They're after Kevyn Adams. Like, what do they do to fix this in a great hockey town? I mean, Buffalo is a good hockey town. And this is just, I mean, I talked to Jack Armstrong, our great friend Jack Armstrong, big Sabres fan.
Yeah, like Buffalo native, right? I mean,
it is so disheartening. And, you know, they've had high picks. They've made big trades. And nothing has really worked. I'm sorry. Think about the Evander Kane trade. Think about the Leonard trade. I mean, those were high picks traded, good players traded, and nothing has worked for this organization except fire GMs and fire coaches. That's all they've done. That's the best thing they do is fire GMs and coaches.
Is it now gone? In my opinion, the answer is yes. I want to get yours. Is it gone too far the other way because they gave him the keys to the whole place, including, I'm sure, feedback on coaches, general managers, players. He's had what we believe, Mac, is major input. And that's not that uncommon, right? With players, coaches, and general managers, especially the ones that you count on as your nucleus. And we know Jack was, but they've got to now be looking at it and saying that didn't work. So
I look, am I wrong to say that they're as ticked off at Eichel as Eichel is at them right now? I think they're fed up with Eichel. I really do. And he's fed up with them. So it's a two-way street. But here's a big challenge. Now you've got an totally inexperienced general manager making the biggest trade in franchise history. One of the biggest trades in franchise history. I like Kevyn Adams, but Kevin, come on. This is a tough trade for the most experienced general manager.
Before we get into that, and we'll get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts and what you think it could take to move Jack Eichel and where the expectations are and the pressures around a trade like that now with all those pressure points of a bad relationship. We'll get into all of that, but you brought up a great point in Kevyn Adams, and we know Kevyn Adams. We like him, we respect him, but we do know that it is really hard for a guy like this right now, which we haven't heard a lot from. It's funny, you know the pressure points in Columbus and in Vancouver, and we know where ownership is in Vancouver, and we just found out where Yarmo is and the ownership when it comes to Tortorella. We have not heard from Kevyn Adams, and I'm not sure if we will. Based on his inexperience, I'm not sure if we're going to hear from Kevyn Adams. Should we be hearing from him right now?
Yeah, well, you've got to hear from the general manager when things are really bad. He's your number one hockey person in your organization. And right now, you know, he is not saying a word. And look, there's a ton of pressure. Here, let me make this point too. Who's the number two guy? Who's the number two hockey guy with the Buffalo Sabres?
With any type of presence or reputation?
Who's the guy that would be there helping Kevyn Adams make this decision? Is it Ralph Kruger? I mean, he's been a coach his whole life. I mean, he coached the Austrian national team for 25 years.
Yeah.
And then he coached soccer, president of soccer. But
yeah, I get your point. Your point. I get your point.
There's no support group there. Yeah, there's no support group with Kevyn, in my opinion.
You're also ripping Ralph's inexperience.
Ralph's got
NHL hockey.
Ralph's got a ton of experience,
but not around NHL, not around the NHL.
A brief stint with the Edmonton Oilers, but he was a European coach for 100 years, and he was well respected. But and they paid him they gave him an unbelievable contract to go in there, and he's done diddly squat. So but again, I go back to this: if you have Kevyn Adams as your general manager, and obviously somebody really likes Kevyn. I happen to really like Kevyn. I traded him, but that doesn't mean I don't like him. You need an unbelievable qualified number 2 guy with him.
Kevyn came out of community support, I guess, or the Junior Sabres program. I don't know, but he comes in without any experience in a scenario like this, let alone managing any trade. So to your point, wouldn't you, if you're the Pegulas now, go out and hire, and Mac, you don't even have to call him president of hockey ops. Why don't you go out there now and get Jimmy Rutherford right now, who's already got a history with Kevyn Adams, and be that guy start it out slow and call him a consultant, but get somebody in there like Jimmy Rutherford. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, and Jimmy's looking for a job right now. He desperately wants to work. And Kevin Devine, who was the assistant general manager there up behind Darcy Regier for ages, they move him from being a scout, almost the head of amateur, to a part-time scouting job. I mean, and he's got some experience. So yeah, they need somebody to go in there to work with Kevyn. And you're right, Jimmy and he have a history from Carolina. It makes too much sense, Nick, for them to do it. It just makes too much sense for them to do that.
Well, and then that's where we get to the Pegulas. Kim and Terry came in, and it was a real connection to the community, and it's a great community, Mac. It really is. It's a great market. They're passionate about their hockey. They love their Sabres. They've got a rich history. This is killing them right now. And the Pegulas were supposed to be the answer, the billionaire answer to usually what ended up being a lack of resources in so many ways over the years.
Right.
So
100%.
And it's been the opposite, Mac. And we talk about the lack of experience for Kevyn Adams, but there was a lack of experience on Tim Murray too. Tim Murray came in, I believe, with no GM managerial experience. So they went with a relative unknown in Tim Murray. Then they went to another guy, Jason Botterill, who had no prior NHL experience, but
as a GM,
as a GM, of course.
Right.
But I'm talking about rookie GMs.
Right.
And then, so you go from rookie GM 1, rookie GM 2 to Kevyn Adams, rookie GM 3. Like, are you not crying even harder for a guy like Jimmy Rutherford or Peter Chiarelli or, dare I say it, Doug Maclean?
It makes absolutely no sense to me. But you know what? You're 100% right. They've stabilized this franchise financially, and it needed it. But they've done a miserable job of managing this franchise, in my opinion. A miserable job of managing it. They've never had a real top guy there. Why does Columbus bring in John Davidson? Why do the New York Rangers bring in somebody?
Yeah.
Why do these good organizations, not just those two, but look, Pittsburgh, go on and on.
To stabilize.
Detroit. Like Detroit knew they were going to have a tough scenario, and they bring in Steve Yzerman, as well qualified as any guy, plain background, and spent a long time tutoring under Ken Holland, had his own team in Tampa. That's what they have missed the boat on time and time again, as you said. I don't know. I mean, who's in their ear? Who's advising the Pegulas?
And the strange part of all of this is now the Sabres have to go up against the Buffalo Bills success,
But
and they have the same owners. So tell me, if you're Terry Pegula and you own the Sabres and you own the Bills, do you not look yourself in the mirror and go, like, what's right here and what's wrong here?
100%.
And it comes down to one thing: people.
Top people.
That's it.
People in the business and in the sport, and they've let whether we want to, they've let the Sabres down and their fan base down on some of their selections. That's all I can say. And I mean, I don't know how to say it any nicer than that. And Eichel, you know what? Eichel deserves some heat here too. Eichel has got 2 goals this year. He's getting $10 million a year. They bring in Taylor Hall to play with him. He's got some good forwards with him. He deserves some criticism too.
You know what?
But here's the problem.
He'll get it, but it's does not fall on Jack Eichel in this scenario. It falls on ownership. Sorry.
Right. But he has to take some heat too.
He will take some heat. He does take some heat. He's not feeling good. He's feeling it, but here's the issue, whether he's got 2 goals or 22 goals, he's still making $10 million. Still gets to go home with $10 million.
And that's why he should be taking some heat over this too, because he hasn't done his part, in my opinion. Now, where can he go? Now you've got an inexperienced front office, in my opinion, making the biggest trade in franchise history, in my opinion. And you know, the number one target is the New York Rangers. And the only way I see the Rangers can do it is they got to move Zibanejad back in the deal. And that's a non-starter for me if I'm Kevyn Adams.
Well, where are the expectations of the Buffalo Sabres, and are they in the same ballpark as they are on what is going on in the marketplace? Because some of the things that I read online on what some people think that Jack Eichel can bring back, I'm like, reality check here. Mm-hmm. It's not happening here. It's not happening in terms of you thinking you're going to get the home run with Jack Eichel. This is another Columbus, Pierre-Luc Dubois scenario with one exception. There is no Patrick Laine out there.
No, you're right. Especially what teams can afford to take on a $10 million cap hit for 6 more years and fit it in and have the resources to move. Now we know Quinn's his former coach at BU, and he's the Ranger coach. So it looks to me like the Rangers have got to make this work somehow, some way.
Okay.
Larry Brooks wrote today they desperately need a number 1 centerman because Zibanejad hasn't been very good. And how do they make this happen?
So I'm with you that Zibanejad going to Buffalo and Eichel coming back is a lateral move. It's lateral. Rangers aren't there where you're going to try to win in the next few years if you're the New York Rangers.
I'm telling you what, if I'm Buffalo, I better see a name like Fox. I better see some top names. I better see some top names. That's why this is such a tough deal to make.
Mac, honest, I can see draft picks. I can see a blue chip prospect or 2.
Oh my God! Don't give Buffalo any more draft picks.
I don't see a boatload for Jack Eichel after 6 years and character flaws. I don't see a boatload.
The question is, how much are the character flaws related to 6 years in Buffalo? That's an excuse. I've heard this about this guy for 6 years, about Jack Eichel. Like, I don't know him. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard it.
So how much How much does that strip of his value? 10%, 20%? Let's revisit a few can't miss franchise type draft picks that carried a similar situation. Would you not put Joe Thornton in Boston?
Yeah.
Would you not put that trade as a comparable to what Jack Eichel is? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Joe got traded at 25 or 26, and Eichel's at 24.
I thought Thornton would have been younger than that. Am I wrong on that? I would have thought he was younger than that.
Yeah, maybe we can get Jordan to look up or somebody in chat to look up. But I believe
what are we looking up exactly?
Joe Thornton traded to San Jose. And how old was he? I want to say 25.
This is a Rick Nash comparable. You know, Eichel has probably a bigger reputation.
I'm sorry, Rick Nash to Rangers?
To the Rangers, yeah.
No.
Well, Rick Nash was a Rocket Richard winner. He was a 40-goal scorer. I mean, it was a big, big trade.
Rick, I think his stock had fallen a little harder than Jack's.
I don't know about that. I guess maybe. I mean, Rick would have been 27 at the time, probably.
He was 26, who I just Googled. So
Joe Thornton?
Yep.
Okay, so I nailed it. 26.
You did. You sure did.
So do we remember that trade? I remember Brad Stewart.
Sturm,
and a Primo, Wayne.
Disastrous trade for the Boston Bruins.
Disaster. No 2 first-rounders and a second. None of that.
How did the Nash deal turn out for Housen with Dubinsky, which is like strangling them on the cap right now? I guess he's on IR or whatever.
Yep.
And Tim Erickson, Anisimov, and I think it was a first-round pick. Now, I don't know what they were where Columbus could move those on and how it helped down the road.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, not out of the park, Mac.
No.
Not out of the park. And the other one, I think, can kind of carry a similar thread is Tyler Seguin in Boston. Now, Boston had issues with Seguin. Either it was his
very similar
work ethic or like to have too much of a good time off the ice. And he ended up ending up in Dallas in what we can remember as a 3-player trade, including Kessel ending up with Toronto. But that brought back Louis Eriksson from Dallas. I remember Nick Peverley. Nick Peverley. And one other person.
Disastrous trade for Boston.
I think the best player out of that was Riley Smith, Mac.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who is still gone on to great things in Vegas. But outside of that, Mac, just to come full circle here, we're talking about first, second, third overall picks that didn't bring a huge rate of return in their mid-20s.
What about Carlson? How old was he when he went to San Jose? 28, 29?
28, 29. So when you have those pressure points that Buffalo has right now, I'm not sure you're getting that boatload like I just mentioned.
So, and it also comes back to the fact those were experienced general managers that made those trades. Experienced general managers that made those trades of those big name players. And, you know, I feel for Kevin. I honest to God, I do, because this is a major pressure point when you're selling, trading your franchise player. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough.
I bring full circle here. Mac, not a trade you make in the next 3 or 4 weeks. This has got off season written all over it.
And you know, Eichel, I don't know what he's saying, what he's doing, what he's thinking. This is Kevyn Adams better sit on this one for a long time. Ugh. There's no panic. There's no panic for the Buffalo Sabres to do this. Is there panic by the Rangers to try to do it? Yeah. They need somebody because they've got a fan base that are pretty antsy right now.
Yeah. But the problem is Rangers, if they don't give up Zibanejad, I don't believe they've got a blue chip center iceman to give them back.
No, they don't.
So they don't have a centerpiece. They're not going to give up Fox. They're not giving up players that can help them win in the next couple of years.
I agree, they're not.
But happening.
But you got to battle, and you've got to get other teams involved. You mentioned LA, with the kid, their first round pick.
Byfield second. I don't know, Mac. Some people are down on Byfield.
How
and maybe that's the case.
On him when he's 19 years of age?
Yeah, you're right.
Jeez.
You're right. So if that's the case, then I'm not even sure if LA's willing to give up Byfield. Like if I look at the Rangers, wouldn't Capo be just enough one-on-one for Jack Eichel? That people are screaming at me, a Buffalo Sabres fan right now, saying that's not enough. But I don't know if it's Capo and a pick and a prospect. Maybe it's three of those pieces, and those two other pieces might be B pluses.
Yeah,
right.
I don't disagree with you, but
that's it. That's all you're getting.
You're not getting what you think. But this comes back to the same thing. You got to sit tight till you can make the best possible deal you can. But it's going to come to a head because it's going to get to Eichel. It's going to get, you're as a GM, you get pressure from the player, from the player's agent, from your owners, from your fans. It is coming at you in waves right now. And it's not a very pleasant situation.
All right, Nick Kypreos here, Doug Maclean, Real Kyper at noon. We are live streaming. How many likes have we got? Are we getting closer for Friday's Q&A? So we're going to have a blast on Friday. I love Fridays.
Am I working Friday?
Reasons. Yeah, you're working Friday.
Okay.
We're getting you ready. We went hard on the Buffalo Sabres. Wow. Did we dive in deep on that? But we got a little bit more to chew on, Mac, including a bizarre firing of the goaltender coach, Stephen Waite, relieved of his duties. Elliot Friedman tells us on social media that Montreal's story, and they're sticking to it, is that Carey Price had no idea about this.
Yeah.
We don't believe that for a second, do we?
No, we don't. We don't believe that for 1 second.
It's okay. The most important thing is that's the spin.
That's the spin. He didn't even know about it. Bergevin didn't consult with him on it. And he really just barely consulted with his coach, Ducharme, on it.
So Ducharme gets his first win of the season against Ottawa Senators. I guess the game probably ended a little bit before 10 p.m. Carey Price speaks to the media, answers a question about what him and Wade have been working on in practice, kind of just shrugs it off with stopping the puck. Good answer.
Mm.
And then an hour later, Sean Burke named director of goaltending. Mac, I got to get a job, director of something. Like, we're getting all these new titles. I can be director of lunch for the boys.
I love they say he's not the goalie coach. He's director of goaltending.
It says it'll be on the business card.
He's going to be in charge of all the organization's goaltenders. Oh my God. When Rick Wamsley was the goalie coach for me, he was in charge of the goaltenders with the big, and also in the minors. And come on, it's a bunch of bullshit. I'm so sick of listening about it.
To be fair,
who's it? What's it? Does it make the new director feel good? I guess so. Does it make Wade feel good?
I know this may disappoint you, but the position of what is expected from someone handling goaltenders has evolved a little deeper than you and Rick Wamsley. It has.
I don't know if it has.
Right? I don't know if it has. I'm saying tongue in cheek on creating a director job, but
I'm not sold that it has.
It is. Well, no,
I think it's a lot of BS is what I think it is.
Luongo goes into Florida and creates this whole division basically and kind of revamps it. And, maybe that's got something to do with Drieger and maybe collectively.
And maybe it doesn't.
Getting more out of the goaltenders.
And maybe it doesn't. I should have, I made a mistake when I was with Florida. I should have named Billy Smith director of goaltending instead of Billy just being our goalie coach. I should have made him director. He was a director, Billy, but
the thing that's been lost in all of this is Sean Burke's already a member of the Montreal Canadiens. Like he has been working for them. He
has been? I didn't know.
Yes. That. No, He was. He was scouting. He's been a scout in the past.
Was he director of scouting or was he just a scout?
No, I think he has been on salary. He has been contracted to the Montreal Canadiens.
Hey, by the way, I really like this guy. I got to be a GM by now. I thought he would be a GM by now, not a director of goaltending.
Well, listen, this is not Sean Burke saying, this is who I am and this is all I'm going to be. This is a guy that he did interview for the general managing job in Arizona before Armstrong got it. So he has aspirations to be a general manager. I don't think he's going up there to become solely Carey Price's goalie whisperer.
But you know what? Carey Price needs a goalie whisperer. So maybe he should start with that.
And he will, but he will also create a division that will lead into all the prospects. It'll lead to philosophies on draft picks. He was up there going on the ice in the American Hockey League with Laval. He has
just a minute. I'm nodding off here when you're telling me all the
No, I'm just saying
I'm nodding off, sorry.
He was already there. I don't know how much more and how much even Carey's going to want him in his face. That's between the two of them, but I don't see this as a long-term play for Sean Burke.
Well, he's got a lot of responsibility. You just rhymed it off there as I was nodding off. So there seems like a lot.
No, but I'm.
It's not Sean's fault. It's just like, what is going on? You fire the goalie coach in the second period.
That was bizarre. That was bizarre.
What is going on? Nobody knows about it. The coach hardly was consulted, but he was. They did briefly consult the new coach. I mean, come on. Like, do they think we're stupid? I guess so. I guess they do.
The only downside for Sean Burke is if, God forbid this for Montreal Canadian fans, that Carey never recoups. He never finds his game back. And, Mac, if you really truly...
that would not be the director of scouting of goaltenders' fault. That would be somebody under the director of goaltending's fault.
Well, and I think Mark Bergevin's smart enough to understand that his future as general manager of the Montreal Canadiens are really in Carey Price's hands.
I'm sick of talking about Carey Price and the Montreal Canadiens and their hierarchy of titles. Oh, I know. It's great. Well, look. Yeah, no, I know. It's exciting. It's good.
And Carey had a good run in the bubble, but if you look at his last few years, Mac, the last 2-3 years, he has not been the Carey Price that everybody built him up to be.
No, I mean, you go back and look at his last 10 years. Tell me how many great years he's had in the last 10 years. Well, now I know the team wasn't
MVP.
great.
I know the MVP a year that set him up for the $10 million a year.
And that was I said he had one really good year.
Yeah.
But he's been good. I'm not saying he's not good, and the team hasn't been great. But look, they've got to have, what, and this team could go into the playoffs and do some serious damage. They could.
Well, like they did before.
Too.
But
if Carey is as good as everybody says and thinks he is, with the way their team is, they could do some damage at playoff time. I have no doubt in my mind about that. And you know what? I think Sean Burke, whether he's the director of goaltending or whatever his title is, I think he can be a help because he's a solid guy. He's a good hockey guy.
Yeah.
He's a common sense guy. And I think it's maybe exactly what Kerry needs. But don't sell me on the director bullshit.
You know, I'm going to end up with a director somebody for somebody.
You are. You're director. You're the director of line movement hockey.
Yeah, I'm bored with it already. I want lunch. I can do lunch. I can do chicken souvlaki. I can load up the tzatziki. The boys will love me. I just want that fancy title. That's all. All right, where do you want to go? You want to suck up to the Toronto Maple Leafs like every other media in Toronto?
No, I want to talk Dallas for a minute.
One of those teams, Mac. One of those teams that we said under 500, struggling.
Well, and a Stanley Cup finalist, and we've seen that happen. I mean, I remember Jersey won the Stanley Cup and didn't make the playoffs the next year. It's happened with teams. You know, was it Carolina that won the Stanley Cup? I don't know if they missed. I think they did. But this is a team that can't score a goal. And Seguin has been a problem, obviously, but this is a team that can't win a game. Columbus go in there for back games. Columbus have got to win them to give them a chance. And Dallas, if Dallas lose these two, the one thing they got going is they got 10 games in hand on some teams, but they got to play those games in a week and a half. So I'm nervous. I'm nervous for that team right now. They've been awful.
Yeah.
They've been awful.
It's going to be tough when you keep playing each other over and over again and you win one, you lose two. It is hard now when you're coming up around the halfway mark.
But you're right. Let's be positive to end the show, and let's talk about the great job the Toronto Maple Leafs are doing.
No. Let's go to Tampa Bay and Vasilevsky because we can get excited about somebody not playing for the Leafs, right? You can.
Yeah.
Third shutout in a row, never done before.
Oh, Brian Boucher had 5 in a row.
No, Tampa.
Oh, in Tampa, yeah. But Brian Boucher had 5 shutouts in a row. Yeah.
And he's on NBC now. That's what 5 in a
row
do for
I got him a couple of years after that, and I was watching practice one day, and I said, he can't stop a balloon right now. I said, where the hell did the guy go with that? It's the 5 shutouts.
Give me one. Did he give you one?
Give me like a win, maybe. Jesus. Anyway, Bush's a great guy.
Yeah,
he's an excellent commentator.
It doesn't hurt Vasilevsky when you look up and you see Hedman, McDonough, and Sergachev. Now, Hedman is
and the other big kid, he's
arguably the best defenseman in the world, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Chernak.
They got a great 5 there.
When you look at McDonough and Sergachev, you're looking at legitimate number 2 guys on any team in the league.
Right.
Yeah. And they've got 2. You can't even say that about any other team. That's how far and above Tampa Bay's blue line is right now, especially from a goaltender's perspective.
Look at their top 5 guys. Hedman, McDonough, Sergachev, Chernak. I should say the top 4. I mean, how good a group is that?
Yeah.
The top 4. Physical, big, puck movers, defenders, create offense. Like, what more could you ask from a blue line? And then you've got this goaltender who, is he not the best goaltender in the world right now?
Well, Marc-Andre Fleury's pushing him.
But based on what he did in the Stanley Cup playoffs last year.
Yeah, that's what we include. To
this year, I mean, you've got to say, I mean, I know Fleury's had a wonderful career, and so has a lot of other goaltenders, but you've got to say, if you could have one goaltender in the NHL today, who would be the number 1 goaltender you'd take in a draft if everybody was available?
Yeah.
Vasilevsky.
two of the best right there, Vasilevsky and Fleury this season.
Yep, exactly.
No question. Can Edmonton Oilers salvage anything tonight?
I thought you were going to say, is there any way the Edmonton Oilers could get Vasilevsky in the trade?
We know the answer to that. No. But can they salvage anything, even with a win, Mac? Is there anything that's going to leave us believing that this team can make some noise this season? Because they had a ton of momentum, and the Leafs have just slapped them around.
Well, I think that with Matthews not playing, it hurt Edmonton to a degree because the Leafs were on a mission to prove that they are a team. They don't have their number one goalie. Jack Campbell does a great job. Hutchison comes in and does a good job. Their team played great team defense without Matthews. Tavares stepped up. Nylander stepped up. Come on. Their third line, or the third or fourth line, whatever they're called, were real good. They played
really good.
Great defense. I thought for Sheldon Keefe, and this was a great team building couple of games without your star, and to be able to play that well and against a team that had been real good in Edmonton recently. So full marks to the Leafs, man. Full marks to the Leafs.
And full marks, Kyle Dubas. You look at the group that he got, and there was question marks for sure with and I doubted it too. Joe Thornton coming in. Joe's happy. He's playing 16, 17 minutes. He got bit by the injury bug a little bit. And that may be an issue down the stretch, Mac. Again, a guy of his age, staying healthy. It's always been an issue in San Jose the last 3 or 4 years. I'm sure it'll creep up again. But for the most part, guys like Thornton, Wayne Simmons, and the one that stands out the most for me is Jason Spezza. And besides that fantastic goal in the opening game Saturday night, I just the demeanor of Jason Spezza, and maybe you can speak a little bit of this, but there's always question marks about guys who think that they might be better than they really are, and then finding a role. And he has found one to a T with the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's one thing to come in, and it's another thing to thrive under the scenario. And the scenario is 8 to 12 minutes or 13 minutes. This guy can come in, be a difference maker in 12 minutes a night. And the buy-in, Mac, that's the hard part for any management team, is to take stars from different players or different teams and say, this is your new role here. You're not the number one guy here. You're not the first guy going over the boards on the power play. This is what we need out of you. Can you buy in? And Spezza's been doing it with a smile on his face.
The reason why I think that he and Thornton have bought in as well as they have, and Simmons, is because they know how good Matthews and Marner really are. And they're watching these two kids and saying, wow, these guys are special talents. And so it makes it a little easier. But I'll tell you the impact that Spezza has. And I'm not in the room, and I listened to Kapanen last night, post game with Pittsburgh, and he said that that Jason Spezza play the other night against Edmonton was an inspiration to him. And that's a guy that played with Spezza and was in the dressing room with him. And he made a great play, Kapanen, on it. But he said Jason Spezza's goal, because it was Jason Spezza and because the way Jason Spezza has handled himself, it was an inspiration to Kapanen, who doesn't even play there anymore. That tells you what Jason has done in the room, in my opinion.
Fake slap shot, 5-hole, Kapanen last night, Spezza. The only comparable, Mac, I can find right now is if we go back to Detroit and their last Stanley Cup, and remember they brought in Brett Hull, Luc Robitaille, Hall of Fame players, Mac. And
Shanahan.
Right? No, Shanny was a top 6 guy, but Luc Robitaille coming in, just small contributions, whatever it takes, mouth shut, smile on my face, maybe I can win a Stanley Cup. Jason Spezza's Luc Robitaille with Detroit right now, and it's working because they're quality guys.
That's right.
And their egos allow them to see the reality of the scenario, not what they envision in their own heads.
No, I agree 100%. That's a great analogy by you. See, that's why you're the director.
Wow.
You set the tone.
Give me a lot of credit here.
You're the Jason Spezza of this show. You're over the hill, almost over the hill, but you're buying in.
Vintage Kyper. What do you think?
I agree 100%.
All right. Boy, oh boy, did you dissect the Buffalo Sabres pretty good with your managerial expertise.
Yeah, right.
Jordan, how we doing, man? Is Matt getting any likes at all? Did we come close to 100 for him?
We're at 166, about 34 short of 200.
Wow.
Yes, that's 34, I guess. So,
Mac, what is it?
That's the most people that have liked me in like a long, long time.
The issue is that we have like 430 people watching right now. So
that means we got a few that are not hitting their like button.
Some stragglers. I mean, maybe they're fans of Spezza, as we were talking about today, right? Maybe
well,
Kevyn Adams people.
We gave them a ton of love. That's for sure.
Who, the Sabres?
No, it's Spezza and the Leafs.
Oh yeah.
So I guess they're not Leaf fans today.
We're not criticizing. Their job is we're not critical people. We're analysts
who
like to criticize.
You love it. You know why you love it? Because you're really good at it.
You know why I love it? You know why I love it? Do you know how many people shit on me in my career?
Yes, I've heard a few.
But the difference is they're legit.
They all forget that I coached in the Stanley Cup Finals. They all forget that.
You remind us with that frame behind you. Do you not?
Yeah, I try to.
Okay, we got one more topic of conversation. We're going to keep it in the Canadian division, Mac. But the scenario of Demko and Holtby doesn't seem to be working in Vancouver.
Wow. I was surprised last night. I know the back-to-back BS. I know but it's not like they're not traveling. They shouldn't be really tired, although their heads are tired from being in this bubble-like situation. But I was shocked that Demko didn't start last night. This was a huge game for the Vancouver Canucks against a real rival in Winnipeg. Winnipeg have their backup in Brossoit in goal, and I appreciate Holtby. Yeah, but you got to go with the hot hand, and Demko has been really good in the last few games. I was caught off guard by that, and I know where Greeny's coming from on it, but it surprised me that Demko didn't start. It really did, and I thought Holtby let in a couple of questionable goals.
Well, it was supposed to.
Calgary can't get it going for whatever reason. It's one step forward and two steps back by Vancouver and Calgary. I know Markstrom's out, but they just can't get it figured out yet. The season's slipping away.
Well, and it's not like we believe that the trade deadline coming up in under a month. Is that when we have it? It's going to be hard for these teams to do anything of any significance. It is it is it not?
I love James Duthie's comment last night between periods when Frank Saravalli brought up a name that's moving into the Ekholm is one, and who else did he bring up last night that could be available? It's actually a big name player. It slips me right now, and James Duthie said, "Oh my God, I'm so worried about trade frenzy." Who the hell did Frank Saravalli bring up last night?
Jordan will look it up. Just go to TSN's website.
A big name guy that was added to the list that could be available.
Well, did he already have Jack Eichel there?
No, yeah. Well, I don't know if he had Eichel, but it wasn't Eichel. It was another name. Oh, shoot, I forget. Anyway, somebody will come up with it.
Well, it's all the sizzle anyways. I'm not sure.
No, Goligoski. Goligoski was added to the defense group. by Frank Saravelli last night for the trade frenzy. So maybe it will be a frenzy of a day.
Oh gosh, not
phone me if it
is.
Will you phone me if it is?
I'll interrupt you on the 12th hole. But it was really shaping up for a Seattle pick'em goaltender. Holtby, I would think Mac would have been the logical choice, but I don't know if you're Seattle now. How excited when when we talked about to bring the show full circle here, we were talking about so many teams struggling here. That's not a good thing for Seattle, who's going into this summer with an expansion draft. You got to pick from one from every team, and Vegas is exempt. Remember that?
Yeah, you've got to have, this isn't rocket science. Look what Fleury's done to that franchise. I mean, Fleury and their owner, Bill Foley, talks about it all the time. The tone he set for that franchise. I had the same thing in Florida with John Van Beesbrook. What he did for the Panthers should never be forgotten. And look, that goaltending selection for the expansion draft is one that you cannot make a mistake on.
Well, there was some thought just a few short days ago that Carey Price could be exposed.
And Bobrovsky could be.
You would never take Bobrovsky over Carey Price.
No.
And you may not take Carey Price, but you're definitely not taking Bobrovsky.
No, you're definitely not.
So that'll sneak up on us awfully quick.
Yeah, it will. It will.
All right, what's up the rest of the day? I think you're running solo right now. You're a bachelor.
Yeah, I've got a busy day. I've got Newman. I've got to get out a couple of walks. He's shaking his head.
Where's Newman?
I locked him out of the room here. I locked him out of my studio.
Bring him in next time. Can only help you. I can assure you, he can only help you.
I got home yesterday after he was in the house for 8 hours, and he's just shaking his head at me. Like, seriously, can you get me out? Can you get me out for a piss, please?
How about the Buffalo Sabres hire you as director of pickleball? You would be great at that. Yeah. It would be huge.
Director of morale. Is that what you said, Joe?
Yes. I said it'd be a morale booster. Everybody loves pickleball. I mean, come on.
I thought you meant hire me as a director of morale.
How'd we finish off today on the likes for Doug Maclean? Are we going full-fledged Q&A on Friday?
We are, yeah. 215. So once again, get your questions in on Twitter, hashtag #LikeMac, and in the comments, we'll get them all together. We'll compile them and pick your favorites.
Can you guys please tell everybody we're on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon? I've tried to get it out there, but I don't have the following that you guys
keep it a
have.
Secret. No, let's just keep it intimate where it's just us and you guys out there. Keep the riffraff out.
No,
we don't need the riffraff.
Let's get riffraff.
It pisses me off that John Shannon's podcast, he's accompanied with some guy from Toronto, is #1 hockey podcast in Saudi Arabia this week.
We're coming for that throne. No offense to anybody in Saudi. The podcast.
Why are you such a ball buster
about anything else? But yeah, we're coming for you, John Shannon. Watch out, you Chileans, all that stuff too. We're coming for you in Chile as well.
Chile and oh my God, they're
chili
crushing
con
us right
carne.
now.
I was saying, my mother used to make chili con carne. Do people still eat that?
Bring us the recipe on Friday. How's that?
It's chili with beef, I believe. I think a lot of people eat chili
with beef. Yes. Chili with beans.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Doug Maclean.
Okay, thanks for listening.
From where are you now? South Beach? Is that like a green screen of your office
Live
just in case Jill's watching? Are you really in South Beach right now?
Oh my God, the Clevelander is a great bar. I never forget Lindy Ruff, Dwayne Sutter and I at the Clevelander, and we were going in, and Lindy says to the bouncer, who's had this huge upper body, and little skinny calves. And Lindy said, "You got to work harder on your lower body." And I thought, Lindy, shut up. I don't want to get beaten up by the bouncer before I get in the place.
Oh my gosh. That's Lindy though. I'm sure you guys were probably
Lindy when he was an assistant coach. He's no fun anymore now that he's a head coach.
That must have been after dinner. And after a few bottles.
He was a fun guy as an assistant
He's
coach.
still a fun guy.
I
He's
know.
still a fun guy.
I love Lindy.
Just won't.
You know what? Buffalo Sabres were pretty good when Lindy Ruff was there.
Oh, you know what I wanted? Just on this note too, when we were talking about, making trades for Jack Eichel and how hard they are when it's coming and everybody wants to take advantage of you. The other guy I wanted you to mention was Vinny Lecavalier, because I did talk to Brian Lawton about this, and Brian Lawton was the general manager at the time in Tampa Bay. And he made it abundantly clear, Mac, that he had a deal done with the Montreal Canadiens and it got kiboshed. But the trade was, you ready for this?
Yep.
Vinny Lecavalier and Mike Smith to Montreal for Carey Price, who at the time was still
a kid.
And I think at the time,
5th overall pick in the draft.
Yes. And at the time, Halak was on a roll. Remember that Halak or Price conversation?
Yes, totally.
So I think it must have been Gainey, right? Bob Gainey?
Probably, yeah.
So Montreal says Carey Price, either Ryan McDonough or PK Subban, Max Pacioretty, who's still in college, I think, and a first-round pick.
Yeah, wow.
How about that?
But that's good for Kevyn Adams to use as, some material when he's starting.
Wow. Yeah, I know. But PK, I think, was still in the American Hockey League in Hamilton.
Exactly.
But
that's what you got to engage in these. You got to know who the minor league guys are, who their top prospects are. That's a critical part of making a big deal like that.
Yeah. But that would have been a huge home run for Tampa Bay and probably got them.
If Lawton would have made that, because did he have Barry Melrose as his coach at that time?
Maybe he was gone by then, but he had Len Barry.
Because that means that it was during the first 9 games of the season. Because I think Barry fired game 10.
Yeah. And Vinny already had that huge contract of over $100 million wrapped around Tampa Bay's throats. And
that's a great scoop that Brian gave you.
Yeah, that was fun. It's fun having those conversations with him. Okay, now we're going to let you go.
You should get him on sometimes and give me a day off.
Yeah, the problem is he could replace you, and
the problem is he
permanently.
He's like Alan May. He puts people to sleep.
Brian actually told us he's only available on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So,
a great friend of the show, Real Kyper at noon.
Shout out, Brian.
Okay, Mac, enjoy the rest of your afternoon with Rufus. What's his? No, Newman.
Hey, Newman.
Hello, Newman. Give him a hello, Newman from Real Kyper. Okay. Thanks for everybody for joining us. I hope we had a fun Wednesday. We've set it up, Jordan, right? Over 200 likes.
Wow.
So Friday, we're going to have a fun show. We'll open it up.
Get those questions in.
Get those stories ready, Mac, okay?
I think as Clark McLean says to me, Dad, I've heard them all before, but you always make a slight adjustment to them.
You're always telling it like it's the first time out of your mouth. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you're a first-time watcher, make sure you subscribe, leave some comments for us, and we'll get to them, and we're going to have a great Friday show. So we look forward to seeing you all. On behalf of Joe, Jordan, and our good Floridian, Doug Maclean, thanks for watching, and we'll see you Friday.